What is up, YouTube? I am Gallite74 here, bringing you week 3 of the PCP. This week we take on Andre, coach of the Evansville Oshawotters. We're going into this game with a 2-0 record, while my opponent is going into this game with an 0-2 record. Now, based off that record, we are starting off pretty strong. We're off to a very strong start. I am going to spoil it for you guys if it isn't already spoiled based off my record. We did end up winning last week, and we won 6-0, so that's really going to help us out with our differential throughout the rest of the season. If you guys want to go check out the PCP playlist, it is going to be on my channel. It shouldn't be too hard to find. This video will be in there as well. We are starting off pretty strong in the PCP, however, I'm not uploading the 8 p.m. Gala tournament, and I am a part of that. We're not doing too hot over there. So overall, Gen 8 has been a pretty mixed bag. I'm leaning, we're doing better, like not better, but there's still, I have lost so far already. So we're off to a pretty good start. It could be a little bit better, but you know, whatever. A month has gone by since Sword and Shield has dropped, so I hope everyone is enjoying Gen 8 and Sword and Shield as much as I am, because I'm definitely having a lot of fun with it. But in regard to that, I'm going to dive into this video. In regard to this video and this matchup, our matchup's pretty good. We have a lot going for us in this match. There are a few threats, as always, as like every team usually does. My opponent has 4 new Gen 8 Pokemon, so hopefully we get to dive into them and see some of them in action in this video. But you guys don't know what Pokemon they are because I have not shown you guys the team. And that's what I'm going to do next. So, Andre's team consists of Inteleon, Eldegoss, Corsola, Galarian Form, Arcanine, Haxorus, Slurpuff, Berserker, Barbaracle, Hitmontop, Malamar, and Lantern. Now what I expect him to bring consists of Inteleon, Galarian Corsola, Arcanine, Slurpuff, Berserker, and then either Lantern or Haxorus. Haxorus is definitely the biggest threat to my team compared to Lantern, but I really heavily prepared for Haxorus this game, so Lantern would low-key be a little bit scarier than Haxorus, but that's sort of what I'm expecting him to bring. The 4 new mons that I had mentioned are going to be Inteleon, Eldegoss, Galarian Corsola, and Berserker. I personally don't think Eldegoss has a good matchup at all. Corsola is really fat and annoying, but that's kind of it. Berserker hits kind of hard, and while I don't think Inteleon is that great, it can't really offensively beat it immediately, so that could be a good reasoning for my opponent to bring that against my team. But the two definitely the biggest threats on his team, surprisingly, are the Arcanine and the Slurpuff. I say that because Arcanine can, with a few predictions, can beat down my defensive core, and without my defensive core, a lot of things become threats, especially Slurpuff and Inteleon, because without Ferrothorn, without like Jellicent and all that stuff, which I'm bringing, spoilers, Inteleon's a threat. Slurpuff without Ferrothorn, I really don't have Salazzle, and Salazzle's not the bulkiest thing in the entire world, so that could be very scary. And speaking of Slurpuff, a Calm Mind, Draining Kiss, Surf, Flamethrower set sort of runs through my team, so I definitely need to keep that thing in check. And that's why those two are definitely the biggest threats. Another note, it's not really as important, but it did show up that you do see Hitmontop on screen, but actually it said Sawk on the sheet. It just had Hitmontop in the transactions, so I was actually preparing for a Sawk. Luckily, it's not the biggest deal in the world, but Hitmontop does get Rapid Spin, so that could definitely be a little bit important. That's basically the breakdown of his team. My team's really good because Flygon offensively and Ferrothorn defensively just runs through this team, and all I have to do is just fill in holes there, which I did throughout my build. I have Salazzle was breaking through this team, so Flygon can clean pretty easily, and then just extra defensive holes that stuff Ferrothorn can't wall, I make sure I can patch up. And that's basically the game plan. I have a very, very set game plan for this week. And speaking of which, that game plan doesn't consist of Conkeldurr, because my team this week I am bringing is Ferrothorn, Flygon, Mandibuzz, Salazzle, Jellicent, and Gardevoir. So as I have been mentioning, a very important piece of my backbone is Ferrothorn. Ferrothorn this week is max HP with 88 in defense and 156 in speed def with a sassy nature, with the leftovers moves being Stealth Rock, Spikes, Iron Head, Seed Bomb. I'm going for a very hazard heavy game because at the time his only removal I thought was Eldegoss, and the Eldegoss just completely loses the Ferrothorn, so I thought if I can just keep hazards up on their side of the field, I could definitely break down their team that way. Ferrothorn walled a lot, including like Inteleon, Eldegoss. I had knockoff on the set originally for Corsola, but at least against Corsola I can get all my hazards up. Slurpuff, if it's not too boosted, and it also makes sure Barbaracle can't set up in front of its face too. And then Lantern, so I just listed off everything that Ferrothorn is really good against. And it can even do okay against like Haxorus without a fighting move or something like that, though I'm pretty sure Haxorus would run close combat now that it gets it. And not many things really enjoy switching into this thing. As few things can, of course, like Malamar can. Corsola can realistically switch in. And then Arcanine, but without the boots, Arcanine gets worn down very quick with all these hazards up. And again, that's the main important part of this Ferrothorn set, is to get hazards up and to make sure things don't get out of control. So that is Ferrothorn. And the most important piece of our offensive core is Flygon. Flygon is rocking out with the Expert Belt, max attack, 232 speed with the Jolly Nature, moves being Dragon Claw, Earthquake, First Impression, and U-Turn. We got dual bug type coverage here. I almost switched Expert Belt for like a bug boosting item, but I decided against it in the end. First Impression is very important if he does want to bring like Shell Smash Barbaracle. I can at least revenge it that way. It's very good priority against his entire team. It hits Inteleon for some insane damage. Slurpuff is really the only thing that can switch in and take 2 hits unless I click Earthquake, but I'm going to be clicking a variety of moves with this Flygon. Oh, and Corsola, but I can just U-turn out on that, so it's not really a big deal. This thing just hits almost everything insanely hard. Hitmontop's also sort of a switch in, which again, if it was Salk, it would be 2 code bounty things, so But again, Earthquake's really good. Dragon Claw is good for the Haxorus. Expert Belt makes sure it basically OHKOs unless he's got a decent amount of bulk in him. And yeah, that's basically it. I really like the priority a lot on this, and you being able to pivot around his team with this is also going to be very helpful. And that is Flygon. Next up, we have Mandibuzz. Mandibuzz has the Overcoat ability, basically max HP, max defense, with the boots as always. Foul Play, U-Turn, Toxic, and Russo the moves. Overcoat is to make sure I can beat the Eldegoss 1v1 because I don't want to be like Slut Powder and like Lead Sheet could be annoying, but as long as I get Toxic off, it's not a big deal. This beats Corsola, though I don't really want to be burnt, so like, but I could see it happening anyway, so that would be whatever. Mandibuzz is also my main switch into Haxorus, because Haxorus needs like a Swords Dance up to be really doing some significant damage to Haxorus, to Mandibuzz. And if he wants to like lock himself in the Outrage, I could at least bring in Gardevoir and revenge him that way, or take advantage of that myself. Again, this wall is like Salk if he would have brought it, but again, Hitmontop. Berserker, even though I do have Jellicent over there for that. Malamar could be a little bit scary. I could just at least U-turn out on it, so I could bring in Gardevoir, or if he's low enough, First Impression with Flygon. So Mandibuzz definitely has some nice key things. This is a good defensive pivot overall, and just Mandibuzz is basically, you know how it is. This thing's really fat. Fourth up, we have Salazzle. I love this set. This is max special attack, modest choice spec Salazzle with 212 speed, with Flamethrower, Sludge Bomb, Dragon Pulse, and Toxic. As soon as I threw this on the set, this team, I was just like, damn, this is really nice. This hits everything so hard. Even Corsola takes like half from Flamethrower if he's defensive, which I'm assuming he's going to be defensive and not specially defensive. So that is just insane damage right there. It might be a little bit less than half, but it's close. Inteleon's not switching into this, even though Inteleon can eventually revenge me. At least he just can't switch it. Barbaracle takes half from Sludge Bomb, and that's probably what I'm going to be clicking most times, because who switches in Berserker to a Salazzle, let's be real. So Sludge Bomb just nukes almost everything on this entire team, and I didn't really realize it at first. It took some time into building to realize how strong this thing was. And so I decided to run this set. I'm really looking forward to the Salazzle set. I like running this set a lot because it just hits everything insanely hard. But it's just mainly here just to mow down his team. Fifth up, we have Jellicent. Jellicent is rocking, again, max HP, max defense, because he's got a lot more physical attackers and special attackers. Moves being a Scald, a Sludge Bomb, Will-O-Wisp, and Strength Step with a Colbur Berry. He's got a lot of dark coverage on his team, whether it be like Crunch from Berserker, Crunch from Arcanine, Night Slash from Haxorus, and Night Slash from Barbaracle. I decided the Colbur Berry would be a little bit better than the Wakan Berry in the end, because Wakan would only be helpful for the Arcanine. This is my main switch into the Arcanine, and it's a nice backup switch in for a lot of things like Inteleon, Haxorus if it gets too out of hand. It's also my main switch into Barbaracle, again, as I mentioned. Hitmontop, since it lost, Salk, it lost knockoff, but Hitmontop, it's still a good switch into regardless. It also spin blocks as well. And just this is Jellicent, just nothing on his team really likes Scald except for like Eldegoss, but Eldegoss, again, doesn't have that good of a matchup, so at least I could just take advantage of that pretty easily. I have Sludge Bomb as a coverage move. I'm not sure how I feel about that, but it hit Slurpuff the hardest, so at least I'm not trying to not let it set up Calm Minds in front of my face. If I can get a poison on it, that helps a lot. And that is basically the Jellicent. And then last up we have Gardevoir. This is going to be a Choice Scarf Gardevoir with a Modest Nature, a Psychic, a Psyshock, Moonblast, and Energy Ball. Psyshock is for a Calm Mind Slurpuff. Moonblast is for basically everything else, because Moonblast is mainly what I'm going to be clicking on this set. I could be clicking Psychic if Malamar doesn't show up, but Moonblast is overall pretty nice. This is my best way to offensively beat Inteleon. With all my hazards up, I can basically OHKO it. This is to make sure Haxorus that is like Bandit doesn't get out of hand. Again, the Salk, the Hitmontop, whatever, Malamar. It's just a nice things to make sure nothing gets too out of hand against my opponent. and its only fairy resist was like Berserker and Arcanine, so like I wasn't that scared of it overall. And that is basically all I'm bringing, and that is going to be the team. Again, no Conkeldurr. I was really shocked because I use Conk a lot in this prep, but I decided that it was kind of the weak link in the end, which sounds really weird. But I'd really enjoy this team. I really hope Choice Spec Slazzle puts in work, as well as the Flygon. I'm excited to use Flygon. I like this model a lot. But I'm going to be quiet, and we're going to go over to Pokemon Showdown, and we're going to watch the battle. Alright, we are here on Pokemon Showdown, and there is no Haxorus on my screen. There is a Hitmontop, though, so that's when I found out about the whole transaction thing. Shouldn't matter too much. Slazzle looks really good here late game, and I do want to mention before this starts and as we get into the battle that we did this battle at halftime on during Monday Night Football, and my opponent is a Saints fan, so I'm going to let that speak for itself. So I'm just going to put that there. But we are going to leave off with Flygon because it basically can either beat everything or U-turn out on anything, except for Inteleon, which I wasn't really expecting an Inteleon lead. So this works out pretty nice as he just burns my Jellicent on the way in here, which is just quite fine. I can fire off a Free Skull. Nothing on his team wants to take it except for, like, Corsola, but Corsola can't be the switching for everything. So Malamar comes in, it does not get burnt, but this does tell me that he is a little bit bulkier on the Malamar, so I will keep that in mind for a little bit later. He does pull a nice double back into the Arcanine as I go out into the Mandibuzz. Now, Mandibuzz can deal with Arcanine, though I'm looking at the rest of his team, and Mandibuzz is so much better, so if he's going to click Wild Charge, which I kind of assumed he was going to, and because I'm not Leftovers, I'm actually not going to be able to take this regardless. So I am going to sack my Jellicent very early into the game. I didn't want to risk going into Flygon knowing Wild Charge was a thing, because if he had clicked Will-O-Wisp, my Flygon was basically useless. But at least this way I can get my Slazzle in and just click Sludge Bomb and something dies. Corsola could have came in, but if Corsola would have gotten poisoned, then it would have been basically over, as now Corsola comes in. I'm going to go out the Ferrothorn and see what this thing wants to do, as it goes for Whirlpool. And when I saw that, and I was like, oh, not this demonic set. This is a very big problem, because my Ferrothorn's going to go down here, assuming Whirlpool kills me. And this is a really big problem because Inteleon in the back, Jellicent and Ferrothorn are gone, and my switch into Inteleon does not exist, basically. So I did mention that Inteleon was a little bit harder to deal with offensively, so that is definitely going to show here. Luckily, at least in this process, I get my hazards that I want up. I could get one more spike up here, but I actually go for Iron Head just to at least scout the Corsola damage, just to get guaranteed knowledge, as this tells me he is physically defensive Corsola, which I sort of expected, but, but Ferrothorn is going to go down. It really does suck because, again, the Inteleon is a very big threat now, and he does get rocks on his side of the field. I do not have Defog on this Mandibuzz, but I do have Toxic, as Slurpuff is going to switch into the hazards and is going to take this Toxic damage, which is pretty nice. And now here is going to be the biggest turn of the game, as he takes a little bit of Toxic damage, as I'm going to U-turn out on this Slurpuff. Actually, I just hard switch, and go into Salazzle. This is big because he goes for Sticky Web. And Sticky Web is really big against my team. I didn't even think about that in prep. So now I got Salazzle in before Web, so my speed's not lowered, as I absolutely cooked the Slurpuff with Flamethrower. And now he could go into Inteleon, but he actually doesn't. He does make some weird plays here as he goes down to Malamar, as I am able to just click Flamethrower and knock it out. So that's pretty nice. We do get just some free kills right there. As now he goes on the Hitmontop. I'm really waiting for this Inteleon to come out, but he has not came out. So I'm just going to keep clicking Flamethrower now. I just basically click it till I die at this point, as he fakes me out. Does his sizable chunks, so it might have some attack investment here, as I do half with Flamethrower and I do burn him, which is a little bit unfortunate, but you see here Rapid Spin does 14. I don't think Rapid Spin plus another attack he would have gone for. In this case, which you're going to see here in a second, he goes for Bullet Punch for knocking me out, even with the burn, but still kind of sucks, as I do just basically claim his entire team with my Salazzle at the moment. So that's actually really nice. So far, there's 4 kills, and Salazzle has all 4. Again, I'm just going to click Flamethrower until I die here. He does disable my Flamethrower on the first try, which really sucks. He does miss his Whirlpool, so I guess it sort of makes sense there. That Flamethrower is either a low roll or he does have some speed F after all, so I'm not sure exactly, but, whatever. Strength type, he doesn't get too much back because my attack's already lowered once, and I don't have too much attack anyway, so it's not really a big deal, as I'm just going to struggle to death, and my Salazzle is just going to kill itself, basically. Now I can go into Mandibuzz and just wall his entire team. I do have to get a Toxic off on this thing, though, and to ensure I can beat it, as I miss my Toxic, so that sucks, as he does hit his Whirlpool. He shouldn't really be able to do too much to me, considering Nightshade's not doing too much, and I do have Roost on the set, as I am able to connect my Toxic this time. And at this point, the only thing that's really scary is Specs Ice Beam, because Flygon definitely dies to that. Mandibuzz gets basically nuked by Specs Ice Beam as well, And Gardevoir barely lives it. Gardevoir can live it, and that's my go-to. Gardevoir living any attack from Inteleon is my only way I can really beat it at this point. That, and I have First Impression on Flygon, so I'm going to keep that a note. As I'm just trying to wear this Corsola down, and we're kind of going back and forth. He does Curse Body my Foul Play on the first try too. A little bit annoying, but that's how it goes. As this turn, he does switch out into the Inteleon as I just roost up to stay healthy as possible. If he is Substitute, it could be a little bit scary, but it won't be too bad because I can just U-turn out the next turn. As he Snipe Shots, and he is not Specs, and that is like the greatest thing I could have ever seen ever. As here, I do get the Toxic off, so I can roll this thing down. I'm going to Roost once to get some health back so I can switch in onto the Corsola later. And now this turn, I am going to U-turn out into my Gardevoir just to speed up this process because Corsola was left low. So Corsola cannot switch into a Moonblast as he actually hardens into Corsola. So this is just great now because with this Toxic Chip, Moonblast shouldn't even be a roll since he's probably more physically bulky than anything. Inteleon can't switch into it. So something dies here. And he is just going to sack the Corsola. At this point, it's probably GG unless he Snipe Shot crits my Gardevoir, I think it is, which would probably kill it. But you're going to see here it doesn't even kill. It doesn't do nearly much. I get a Curse Body, which is kind of funny. As I just nuke it with Moonblast. Even if Moonblast didn't kill, there I had First Impression in the back. So GG to my opponent, Andre. By the way, near the end of the battle, you guys probably heard a jump cut, so I do apologize for that. The audio system glitches every now and then. But big props to my opponent for bringing webs because it did catch me off guard. I was going for a Gardevoir Scarf late game, but I couldn't do that because the webs were up. So I had to improvise, and luckily Manabelle saved my ass. The absolute GOAT just walled everything, so I'm really happy about that. One more time, GG to my opponent, Andre. We are going to move up to a 3-0 record. Our goal is to reach 5-0 before we have to get rid of this beautiful team. I'm going to try and redraft a very similar team to this, but it's going to be pretty hard knowing now that we all have an idea of what each mon does in this meta game. But I'm going to try my hardest to do that. But until then, we still have 2 more games until that time. Salazzle is 9-2, which is absolutely insane. I'm very happy about that. I love Salazzle, and hopefully he just keeps putting in more work. A little bit of a preview for you guys next week. We are facing off against the Dallas Stallers, coached by Dan or Dizen, I think that's how you say it. He has a new mon. I know he has Phalanx. He has a few other new ones too, but I think Phalanx was like the first one he drafted, so that's usually how I look at it. So maybe we'll see that next week, and that is just basically all. That's basically it for this video. Thank you guys for watching so much. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like. If you like Pokemon Draft League content, consider subscribing to the channel. I'm gonna head out of here.